Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is Paula Allen, who is Global Leader and Senior Vice President of Research and Total Wellbeing for LifeWorks. Thanks for joining us today, Paula.
Great to be here, Mario.
Well, LifeWorks put out its regular monthly mental health index today. Kind of disturbing to see 15 straight months of negative mental health score for Canadians. First of all, Paula, can you talk a little bit about that and why do we continue to see that decline? You would think that things would start to open up a bit.
Well, one thing is that we have seen a sharp increase in optimism, so that's great. I think the thing to remember, though, is that things are not back to the way they were, and they may never get back to the way they were. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. You know, the way the human mind works is that, you know, when you're going through strain, if it's a short, acute strain, it's fairly easy, unless it's extreme and traumatic, to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've been going through something for a long time, chronic stress, chronic strain, uncertainty, change, and upheaval, it takes a little while before, you know, you get back to where you were before. And again, our circumstances really haven't gotten back to the way they were before.
Yeah, let's talk about the uncertainty. One of the biggest is going to be work, right? Right, now we're going to start seeing people going back to offices, although it's summer, but I guess the proof in the pudding there would be in September when things come back. But is there a lot of uncertainty for people of not knowing, you know, am I going back in the office? Am I going to work remotely? What am I going to be doing?
There is, you know, some people have some clarity, and their mental health scores are actually much better than those who don't have that clarity. So there is really a strong association with, having that level of uncertainty taken away from you. So at least you have a footing, at least you have a path. And that's something employers should be aware of as well, because the difference between the two groups is actually quite phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that people like have control. I mean, this whole pandemic has really taken away a lot of our personal choices and control, you know, for very good reason, but that is the fact. And only 6% of our Canadian respondents said that they felt that they would have the flexibility to choose how they work going forward. But that group actually had the highest mental health scores of all.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. What about vaccinations? What impact is the further we move on into the summer, the more people are fully vaccinated? What impact is that having right now on the mental health of Canadians and into the future?
Yeah, well, a few months ago, we actually asked Canadians whether what would help improve their outlook, their mental health, and vaccination actually was at the top of the list, even more so than reopening. And we're seeing that playing out now. So people who are vaccinated, and in particular, an interesting finding, the jump in mental health is for people who have been partially vaccinated. That's where we see, you know, the biggest positive scores. And I think it's because when you first take that step, you probably heard anecdotally that, you know, people who have that vaccination are surprised at the relief it gives them. That first step into protection is a big deal. So, you know, those people are doing the best, and the people who still want to be vaccinated but have not yet had that opportunity, their scores are by far the worst.
Okay, and I know we've talked about this before, but I know the report talks today about postsecondary students. What is happening with them these days?
Well, we know that the pandemic has really been very, very hard on post-secondary students. You know, that consistently their mental health scores have been the lowest of any of the defined groups that we have. The thing that is really kind of standing out, though, is that the number one thing that they're saying is a problem for that has impacted their mental health has been the isolation. So that's number one. Second has been the impact on their income. When you think about the industries that have been really hard hit, where people haven't been able to work, retail, food services, restaurant work, where post-secondary students get income. And it was really only third was the experience of online classes. So that disruption, that hasn't had an impact. It was different, but it really wasn't the driving factor of this decline. It was really the social context. So working online and doing things online, but if people still were able to feel connected, even if they had online courses, we wouldn't have seen the scores that we did.
Yeah, and the final question I have for you, and again, it's on children, and a kind of an age group or a demographic that a lot of people tend to forget during this whole thing. What is their state of mental health these days?
Well, we probably have seen it as well, like hospitals, children's services have seen a real uptick in terms of mental health crises amongst children. So we saw that in pretty much every age group. There was a proportion, a little less than 1 in 5 of parents saying that their children's mental health has declined through this period. We do have a good news story, though. And we found that there was a fairly significant proportion over about a quarter of parents who had younger children, so 6 to 12, who said that their relationships with their children actually improved during the pandemic. Some declined, but more improved than declined. So, just the availability of parents, being able to spend time together in that younger age group was something that happened in terms of their relationship with their parents. But overall, this has been a difficult time for children and their parents.
It's interesting you bring that up, because it's something that I noticed, especially when school was on here. The number of parents, especially fathers, who were walking their kids to school, right? Because they were working from home, and obviously took 10 minutes off and walked their children to school. And I still see it in our neighborhood. So it's the one, I guess, quote unquote, positive thing that's come out of this, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing, if there is a good thing about a crisis, is that it helps you pay attention. And, many parents, we saw this in previous reports, were very concerned about the mental health of their children, rightly so. And that concern caused different behaviors. It caused more attention, more focus, more clarity. And even just our busy lives were slowed down a little bit. It was more home focused, it was more family focused for some. And in some cases that created conflict, but in a lot, it actually helped relationships.
Yeah, super then. All right. Well, thanks, Paula, for joining us today.
Pleasure.
All right. That was Paula Allen, Global Leader and Senior Vice President of Research and Total Wellbeing for LifeWorks. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.